have a kind of certain banter, which Harry used to thoroughly enjoy, pretty sexist and misogynist and so on and so on. And they're spraying around all their normal jokes. And Meghan is picking them up on every single one. And it's driving...
You know what's absolutely hilarious? Meghan Markle getting roasted so hard on live television that she probably tried to copyright the word roasted just to stop people from using it. The woman went from Duchess to dropshipper faster than you can say jam entrepreneur. And honestly, watching Piers Morgan and Tom Bower tag team her on television was more entertaining than anything Netflix has produced in years. But here's where it gets absolutely bonkers. She actually thought she could out-debate these two veterans of British media warfare. Girl, you were on a cable television show called Suits. These guys have been destroying careers since before you knew what a crumpet was.
At Sandringham, a weekend shooting party, which was quite normal for Harry, and he just thought they'd all get on together, but in fact the opposite. I mean, Meghan is someone who doesn't hold herself back from complaining about people's way of manner, their way they talk, the way they behave, and all the rest of it.
So there she was, sitting in her Montecito mansion, probably arranging her jam jars by color coordination, when her publicist calls and says, "Meghan, darling, you've got a chance to defend yourself on live television against your biggest critics." Now, any sane person would have said, absolutely not. That sounds like career suicide with extra steps. But our girl Meghan, she probably thought, finally, a chance to explain my truth to the world. Because apparently, she's been living in a reality where her previous interviews went well. Someone clearly forgot to show her the memo about how the Oprah interview aged like milk in the California sun. The confidence was off the charts. We're talking Kanye-level delusion here, but with more avocado toast and less actual talent.
What was amusing was on the way home from Sandringham, they're all texting each other, "Oh my God, what a nutter, how on earth can he stay with her?" And the same then happened when they went to Tommy Inskip's wedding in Jamaica, which is a great friend of Harry's, who in the end was banned from the dinner after their wedding.
Insiders say that Meghan was pacing around like a caged tiger at the zoo, except the tiger graduated from Northwestern and has strong opinions about press freedom. Her team was probably doing breathing exercises while she practiced her "I'm actually the victim here" face in the mirror. Meanwhile, Piers Morgan was probably warming up by absolutely destroying a cup of tea just for practice, and Tom Bower was reviewing his notes, like he was preparing for the final boss battle in a video game called Destroy Royal Reputations 3: The Reckoning. The production crew knew they were about to witness television history, the kind where someone's PR career goes to die on live television. You could practically smell the desperation through the studio monitors.
If that. And Meghan was really, she controls everything. So it was a great cameo.
Tell me about the Queen. The Queen apparently, you report, didn't want Meghan at Philip's funeral. Why?
When Piers Morgan started talking, you could literally see Meghan's soul leave her body and try to book a flight back to Toronto. This man came prepared with receipts, timestamps, and probably a PowerPoint presentation titled "Why Your Netflix Deal Was a Scam." He hit her with the classic, "You wanted privacy, so you did a tell. All interview with Oprah, wrote a book, started a podcast, and signed with Netflix." That's like saying you're on a diet while eating a whole cheesecake on Instagram Live. The studio audience was trying so hard not to laugh that you could hear their internal struggle. But wait, it gets better. Meghan tried to interrupt him with her rehearsed talking points about living her truth, and Piers just smiled and said, "Oh, sweetheart, we're just getting started." The secondhand embarrassment was so strong that viewers at home started apologizing to their TVs.
Well, she didn't want to be the attention diverted from Philip. If Meghan had been there, she would have got all the attention. I mean, the Harry walk up the hill with William that just showed how the media was focused on the reconciliation and everything after Oprah. So when she said to one of her aides, "Thank goodness."
Just when you thought it couldn't get worse for our jam-selling Duchess, Tom Bower decided to enter the conversation like a literary assassin with a British accent and zero chill. This man has spent more time researching Meghan than she spent researching royal protocol. And it showed. He pulled out facts like a magician pulling rabbits out of a hat, except these rabbits were all embarrassing truths about failed business ventures and conveniently forgotten details from her past. The man literally said, "You've reinvented yourself more times than Madonna, but at least she can still sell concert tickets." Meghan's face went through more expressions than a TikTok filter, trying to keep up with her emotional roller coaster. You could practically see her mentally calculating how much this appearance was going to cost her in crisis management fees.
That kicked them off the balcony at the Jubilee?
Well, I think it was the Queen, but also I'm sure Charles and William, had a big say in that. They weren't going to allow Netflix to dominate their big celebration.
When I read quite a few of the anecdotes in the extracts, there's a lot of diva-like behavior from Meghan Markle, very controlling about her image when she does a Vogue.
Then came the moment everyone was waiting for, the systematic destruction of the American Riviera Orchard brand. Piers looked directly into the camera and said, "She went from shaking hands with the Queen to shaking jam jars for Instagram. The woman literally tried to make strawberry preserves seem like a royal innovation." Tom Bower jumped in with, "At least when Martha Stewart went to prison, she came back and still knew how to run a business." This is just sad entrepreneurship with good lighting. The combination punch was so brutal that somewhere in Montecito, a Ring doorbell probably captured the exact moment Meghan's dignity left the premises. But here's the kicker. Instead of laughing it off or owning the absurdity, Meghan tried to defend her jam empire like she was presenting a doctoral thesis on fruit preservation. "Girl, it's jam, not the cure for world hunger."
That she had no idea what she's really getting into.
Oh, on the contrary, I think she's a very scheming, very clever woman. No, I think the surprising thing at the end of the book, I realized how successful she'd been. Here was a woman who was nothing. I mean, born, broken family, the whole thing, an unknown actress, all the rest of it, becomes a global star, which is what she wanted. When she was about 9 or 10, she said to her father, "I want to be famous, I want to walk down the red carpet." And she has now done that. And
the conversation took a darker turn when Tom Bower started pulling out the palace tea, like he was running a royal gossip blog with journalistic integrity. He mentioned how the Queen allegedly said, "Thank goodness Meghan isn't coming to Prince Philip's funeral," and you could actually watch Meghan's media training abandon her in real time. She tried to pivot to talking about institutional racism and protecting her family, but Piers cut her off faster than a Netflix subscription after a price hike. "You can't claim you want privacy while simultaneously complaining about not getting enough attention. Pick a struggle, darling." The audience was living for this level of British passive aggression mixed with American directness. It was like watching a cultural exchange program designed by someone with a PhD in creating awkward television moments.
that she could be a great success, and by marrying Harry, she did it. And so
are they in trouble now, though? Is the Sussex brand on the downward slope? A lot of American friends of mine are completely done with them, which they weren't even a year ago.
Sure. And this.
Then Tom Bower dropped the bombshell that sent Meghan into full damage control mode. Apparently, A-list celebrities have been avoiding the Sussexes like they're carrying a social media virus that could infect their own brands. When even Hollywood won't return your calls, you know you've achieved a special level of radioactive celebrity status, he said, with the kind of smile that could end careers. Meghan's response was to start talking about jealousy in the industry and people not understanding her vision, which is basically celebrity speak for "nobody wants to work with me anymore, but I'm gonna make it sound philosophical." Piers couldn't resist adding, "Your Spotify deal got canceled faster than a Netflix show about royal jam making." At some point, you have to wonder if maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't everyone else. The burn was so severe that fire departments in 3 countries got automatic alerts.
Downward trend.
Yeah.
For which I wouldn't be sad at all, because they pose a real threat to the royal family.
Well, that's what I've felt from this. The reason I've been so exercised about them is I think they are destroying a lot of the magic of the monarchy. They're calling, without producing any hard evidence to support any of these claims.
On the contrary.
And it's incredibly damaging.
Actually telling untruths.
Yeah.
And I think that was terrible. That's really why I wrote the book, because I just thought this woman is really doing something quite dreadful to Britain. And Harry has...
The absolute low point came when Tom Bower started comparing Meghan to Catherine, Princess of Wales, and you could literally watch Meghan's publicist somewhere frantically Googling how to fake a medical emergency during live television. Catherine doesn't need to sell jam to stay relevant. She doesn't need to give interviews about her truth. She just shows up, does the work, and somehow manages to look effortlessly elegant while doing it. Meanwhile, you're out here acting like you invented work-life balance while selling overpriced preserves on Instagram. Meghan tried to respond with something about different approaches to service, but her voice had that quality of someone who knows they're losing an argument but can't figure out how to gracefully exit. The desperation was so thick, you could spread it on toast, premium toast, of course, sold exclusively through American Riviera Orchard.
Fallen in love with her in a ludicrous way, and has gone along as her accomplice.
What about Thomas Markle in all this? He's had a big stroke. I'm told he can't even talk at the moment. He's not heard a word from his daughter. He brought her up for years on his own. wasn't at the wedding for reasons we all know, but what's your sense about him?
Well, I went down to Mexico and spent 2 days with him. And of course, you can't have anything other than sympathy for a man who...
As the interview wrapped up, Piers made a prediction that had everyone at home immediately opening their phones to check social media. I give it about 6 hours before she posts something on Instagram about rising above negativity with a perfectly curated photo of herself looking pensively into the distance, probably holding a jar of jam. Tom Bauer added, and there'll definitely be a quote about authenticity posted by someone whose entire brand is built on leaving the most authentic institution in the world to become a lifestyle influencer. The accuracy was so painful that viewers started placing bets on which inspirational quote she'd choose and whether the jam jar would be visible in the background or featured prominently in the foreground. As the show ended, both men made it clear that this wasn't just entertainment, PR. This was a public service announcement about the dangers of believing your own PR when your PR is fundamentally flawed. She'll probably write a memoir about this interview, Piers laughed, called My Truth, How Two British Men Bullied Me with Facts. Tom Bauer's parting shot was even better. The tragedy isn't that she left the royal family. The tragedy is that she left them to become exactly what every stereotype about American celebrities suggests: all brand, no substance, and confused about why the world isn't buying what she's selling. The interview ended with Meghan looking like someone who just realized they'd accidentally live-streamed their midlife crisis to millions of people, while Piers and Tom looked like they'd just completed a public service for entertainment journalism. Within minutes of the show ending, social media exploded with reactions that ranged from "I can't believe she agreed to this" to "This is better than any reality television show ever made." Hashtag Meghan Roasted started trending worldwide, competing with hashtag Jamgate and hashtag American Riviera Orchard Disaster for top hashtag honors. The memes came faster than Meghan's publicist could draft apology statements. Someone created a bingo card of her interview responses, and another person made a supercut of every time she tried to change the subject when confronted with uncomfortable facts. But the real winner was whoever started the betting pool on how long it would take for her to respond with a carefully crafted Instagram post about choosing love over hate while subtly promoting her latest jam flavor in the background. The internet had officially crowned this as the most entertaining celebrity meltdown since Kanye's Twitter days, except this time it involved British accents and fruit preserves, which somehow made it even more absurd and absolutely hilarious.